Well, hello. Welcome to the Creative Writing Life podcast, where we talk with writers from all mediums and genres about themselves, their work, and advice they have for writers. I'm your host, Paul Zeidman. My guest today is Bill Frisco. We're going to be talking about his book, Every Day is Like Sunday, The Silent Relooting of Art Stolen by the Nazis. Bill, welcome to the Creative Writing Life podcast.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. So, for those who are familiar with the show, we like to start things off talking about anything we may have read or watched lately. Did we like it? Did we not like it? Do we ever never want to have anything to do with that ever again? I'll go first just to give Bill a little time to collect his thoughts. I actually didn't really have a chance to watch much this past week because over the weekend, we finally shot my short film. So that was two really exhausting days. So TV or reading anything was not on my mind whatsoever. So I'm in recuperation mode as I get ready to start gearing up for post-production. But I'm trying to figure out if there's something I want to watch. There's a big list of stuff that's already come out that is on the to get to eventually list, but we'll get to that another time. Bill, what about you? Anything new or exciting or very disappointing on the TV or the movie or the book front?
Went to the Phillies game last night. Phillies
Okay.
played the Padres.
Uh-huh.
Big win. Um, did you ever watch Peaky Blinders? I'm
Uh,
watching that.
okay. So what do you think of it?
I love it. It's pretty cool.
What is it about that you like so much?
It reminds me of our neighborhood.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll get into that in just a little bit. So let me see. I think there's a bio here about Bill. At least I think there was. Well, usually, usually there's a book, there's a bio about the author, but you know what? This is a little different kind of a book. So the book is Every Day is Like Sunday. Now, okay, so I'm going to start this off real quick. Well, we'll get to what I like to call. So give us like the elevator or the cocktail party pitch. So you're at a cocktail party, you're in an elevator, and someone says, "Hey, Bill, I hear you're working on a book. What's it about?" And you say,
It's very layered. Um, Jewish family gets sent to the Dachau prison. One of them survives, and she looks for a little revenge on what they did to her father and her family.
hmm
And that is the story through the book of how she gets a little bit of her comeuppance, and a little bit of love in there, and there's a whole bunch of other. She meets some guys from Philadelphia, and they kind of help her out with this task.
hmm
And yeah, it's hard to give it
Yeah, well,
a
I was going to
title.
say it's like it's classified as historical fiction, but as you said, it's got elements. It's got World War II, and it's a lot of the action takes place in the '60s and in the mid '80s, and you've got, as you said, you've got a little romantic element. There's also a big heist element to it, and
Yes, yes,
suspense slash thriller qualities. So it's got a little of everything just in this compact little book right here.
yes,
So let's start with a little bit about you. So this is your first book.
yes.
Okay. So what was the let's call it what was the inspiration for wanting to write this?
Uh, well, I don't know how we can tackle this, but I was asked to many years ago.
I'm sorry, you were
I was asked to many years ago by a character named Roy Keane.
okay.
So it just took a long time to do it, but
Okay, so
I
as
think
so
so. It wasn't, I just assumed it was a pretty good story,
uh-huh.
and it just took a long time to get it out there.
Okay, no, I totally get that. So like I said, I usually ask what was the inspiration for it, but I wanted to say, so as I said, it's categorized as historical fiction, but there's a significant amount of factual info and details throughout the thing. Not that I expect you to come clean about it, but is it safe to say there may have been a little embellishing here and there, or is everything as written just exactly how it happened?
The reason it got labeled historical fiction was um, just because of the crime element,
Mm,
and I didn't want to get it. I was My lawyer said that you don't want to get tagged with this because
mm,
I might know more than I put in the book,
okay.
and I might not. So, but that's why it got labeled that. So I can
Okay.
always fall back on that if someone comes around and goes, you know, let me have a talk with you down the precinct.
Okay. So just to kind of give like a thumbnail summary of the story. So, like I said, there's a lot of jumping around for time periods, but I guess we'd call it maybe, the bookend is that it starts in like, the early mid 80s at the Jersey Shore. And you meet this neighbor and he says, "I've got this story to tell." And the story is about, as you said, this family in Germany, uh, as the Nazis are coming to power, and there's stolen art, and the woman's family, uh, you know, gets sent to one of the camps, and she makes it out. But then it's about her wanting to get revenge, and I'm not going to go any further than that because
Okay.
we're not big on spoilers on this show. But safe to say that the guy who is telling you this story, he's heavily involved with the revenge part of this story.
Yes.
So, I guess the big question is that so this all happened in like I said the mid 80s. So, what was I guess what was the impetus for you to say, okay, I'm going to sit down and put all this to paper. I'm going to, he told me this story. I've got all these notebooks and I'm going to sit down, I'm going to tell the book version of this story. So, what was it that made you say, okay, I'm going to finally do this now?
COVID.
Good reason.
It slowed us down a little bit. Not
Mhm.
that much, but it slowed us down a little bit. And yeah, that's how I had some time.
Okay,
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it. So like another one of the questions I had, like I said, there's a lot of uh, factual information and details throughout. Was there a lot of research involved on your part, where like you had to confirm where things were, or because there's also some photos in the book, like about the truck that the two guys used as part of getting the art. So was that research on your part, or were the Roy Keane's journals just that detailed?
They were that detailed, but I wanted to understand it better. So I did do some research. I At the end of the book, I did some research about trying to find Roy. I
Mhm.
did some research more about how museums work and if they could anonymously buy stolen art,
Hmm.
things like that, just so
Okay.
I can understand what I was talking. Because I was never in a museum in my life till I started writing this book.
Sure, sure. One of the other details I thought was really interesting is that a lot of the action takes place in Europe. Oh, excuse me. And so, like, they get from, I think it's Dublin, and then they work their way through the mainland to, I think it's Austria. So, did you actually go and follow the route that they took, or was it just a lot of
Yes,
research? Oh, you did.
I did. Yes, yes.
And
Uh, it was a little frustrating because I think I got within a half a mile of the house. I just couldn't find it.
oh,
And I
wow.
had the address. I just couldn't find it. And I got frustrated. I mean, yeah. So
You mean Google Maps didn't even help you out with that? It just,
it's just too many roundabouts. And I just
oh,
got,
wow.
yeah. I stayed in, you ever heard Birch's Garden, right?
Yes.
Uh, well, I stayed there. It was only 5 miles from the house,
Oh,
the other
wow.
side of the river. Like one's Germany, one's Austria. And but yeah, but I did the whole Dublin all the way through. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the interesting things is that so a lot of the information in the story comes from Roy Keane's journals, but they are, I guess, not a direct transcription of getting his information down. What was your process for putting this story together? Did he lay it all out, or did you kind of have to, all right, I want to try to like have a narrative aspect to this? And was it challenging for you to, I guess, find the true, like the voice of Roy Keane? So it was written, sounded like it was coming from him rather than from Bill.
Well, it came from. It was also notes from
Oh,
Lily
okay.
Braun. So, and I took notes as the summer went along. But yes, I tried to capture Roy's voice because it was very original. He was one
Uh-huh.
of a kind.
Yeah, did you have to maybe like enhance it a little bit, or was it I guess because you talked to him for so long that you had an idea of his personality and maybe like his
Yes.
voice mannerisms, so you're able to, let's say, translate that onto the page.
I tried to capture as much as I can his charisma, his just the way he told the story. Just he did all that. So when he told the story, it was like I said, I did the best I could. I don't know if I don't know if Hemingway could have did it. You know,
That I think that would have been a little different. I also, as you said, like you had notes, I guess, writings from Lily, the woman who's kind of like her story is what starts the whole process. But there are also other characters. It was like Roy. I'm blanking on his name. Roy's partner who goes to Europe with him. Is it
yeah,
Johnny?
Johnny Gallagher.
Yeah. So like and
Yes.
like he plays a significant part, and there are other characters. I mean, are those just people that Roy talked about, or did you kind of have to dig a little bit deeper to find out more about them?
Yeah, so I met Johnny.
Okay.
That's not his real name, but I met him
Mm.
uh, on my way of trying to find Roy. But yeah, mostly he brought the characters to me. Like I said, I met a few of them, but not never met Gerlitz or the guys
Well, right.
the guys in Ireland. The French guys. Like I never met any of them. But
Well, I was going to say that's probably a little way before your time, so a lot of them might
yes,
not have been around anymore.
right, right. I did find out what happened to some of them, but
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I did notice that there is like I guess you could call it yeah, there is an epilogue that you give an update pretty much about everybody who's
yeah.
involved with this story, and I just thought that was great. I mean, was a lot of that from like secondhand information from people who knew them, or did you have to go to find out, city records about certain people?
Nah, we had a tight knit neighborhood. If it was easy to find some of that stuff out. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Again, we're talking to Bill Frisco. His book is Every Day is Like Sunday, The Silent Relooting of Art Stolen by the Nazis. Okay, so this was a really important question for me. Were there times that you felt you might have been giving too much detail that you had to dial it back, or there wasn't enough detail, so you had to dig a little bit deeper and maybe embellish things a bit, or or are you just taking it from Roy's journals and just transferring it directly, or did you kind of feel like I have to take a little creative license here?
Yeah, I was never worried I gave too much because I was very guarded about that.
Okay.
Sometimes I felt like I was giving too little. I was too vague because I couldn't tell like the title of any of the artwork or anything like
Mm,
you know what I mean. So I know that was I would love to do that, but it just couldn't happen. So yeah, it was I'm very cognizant of all that stuff. And like every time I wrote a line, I was making sure that I didn't because I didn't want to fail anybody.
sure, sure. Do you have to like check with lawyers to say, okay, is this okay, or did they say, no, you can't say this. You have to be more vague, or like, okay, that's too vague. You have to be a little more detailed, but not too much.
And no, I didn't check with. I just had Roy in my mind
Okay,
and how he told me the story and how he wanted it portrayed. I did let lawyers read it when I was finished the manuscript, and that's when they came up with, you better just be careful a little bit.
sure, sure. I did notice that there, especially near the end, as you're talking to Roy and you're asking him questions, and he'll just answer with next question.
Yeah, 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 yeah. In a funny way too.
Right.
One of
Uh,
the
so one of the things I also want to ask you is so that a lot of times, especially in fiction, that the writer may get sidetracked or and veer off towards a new plot line or an ending. Was it different for you because you already knew how things played out and you knew how it ended? That did you ever feel like I need to do a little bit more here, or again, does it all coming back to the journals?
I actually didn't know how it was ending. I knew how it ended with Roy, but then
Oh, okay.
when in the very end of the book when I found John Gallagher and he told me a whole different thing that about the ending
Hmm.
that I don't want to go into details about it because I think it was a pretty good ending. But so no, I only knew what Roy told me until I started investigating
Okay.
and found the other, a lot of the other stuff out that I put in the book that I think enhanced the ending because you
Hmm.
didn't see it coming.
Right, right. Did you have to go back and change anything based on what
No,
Roy
I
had
say
said,
that
based on what
I didn't
Johnny had said?
change. No, I didn't change anything that Roy told me up to I think it was chapter 19, and then after that, what I was told, I kept but I didn't change nothing because that was Roy's story.
Okay. Well, the next question was about the epilogue, but we kind of already covered that about you have an update about almost all the characters and the supporting characters. And you already said that you got a lot of that directly from people or a little bit of research. So that's
Yeah,
great.
and the neighborhoods too that
Hmm.
the story came from. the epilogue because they've changed drastically. Some of the neighborhoods. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Okay, so this is kind of about organizing the story from a storytelling perspective, I guess. So there are two timelines. There's post World War II into the early 60s, and the Jersey Shore 1985. Did you have any trouble organizing we'll call it the storytelling details of each, or did the journals really kind of help guide the way?
I wrote the whole story, and then for some reason, I guess maybe all writers have a second, third thoughts.
Hmm.
Then I started writing the whole story again in through Roy's eyes. And
Okay.
it only got me through a chapter, and I was like, nah, I think I'm going to stick with what I have. And I did change some of the chapters around. I thought
Hmm.
it made it seem a little smoother uh, instead of going up and down and stuff. So yeah, that was a little. Since it was my first time, I was like, but I read a lot. So I mean that helped things too. I think.
Sure, sure. The big question is that, as you said, you live in the neighborhood where Roy and Johnny were, before your time. What has the reaction been to the book? I mean, after people read it, do they say, "Oh yeah, I knew Roy," or I knew Johnny, like, "Oh yeah, I knew the guys they went around with."
Yeah. Well, I'm still a little tight-lipped on who they were, but
Okay.
people always, but it never the week don't go by till someone guesses who they are,
Oh, okay.
and I just laugh or I smile, never telling them. And then some people know, enough people know
Sure, sure.
because it's a small neighborhood, and not everybody were, you know, criminals, so
Right,
they
right.
knew, but people my age, I know this guy. I just had a funeral the other night, and everybody, yeah, and I said, and I just smile. I don't tell them no, I don't tell them yet.
Okay. Yeah, actually, what's great is that I've had writers on before that their story takes place in a certain city or a certain location, and they're able to, I guess, make that location of the story almost a character unto itself. So, like
Mhm.
in this case, like Philadelphia or the Fishtown neighborhood really plays a part of that. I mean, you have the benefit that you grew up there and you live there. So your combination or the combination of your experience there, but also Roy's stories that take place there, how was it for you to incorporate that Fishtown element into the story?
I loved my neighborhood growing up. Nobody else did. No outsiders did.
Sure.
I mean, but we all did. Like abandoned houses and abandoned cars and factories, and now it's gentrified and it's a little
Hmm.
different. But uh, so I love telling the story. I'm glad it happened in my neighborhood, and I was happy to tell the story about my neighborhood.
Okay,
Yes.
that's great. That's great. So I guess the big follow-up question is, okay, so every day is like Sunday. It's your first book. Do you have any plans for a second book? I mean, not necessarily a sequel or anything connected, but do you have anything else in the works?
Yes, I do. I didn't think I would.
Okay.
And even in the book, I thought this would be my first one. But someone has contacted me after reading this. Someone very, very important to the story,
Okay.
and it it's going to make writing another one pretty easy. I
Okay.
think.
Okay.
I
Well,
didn't start yet, but
okay. Oh, you haven't started. Okay. I was going to say that before you had the benefit of COVID, so you had a lot of free time, spare time to work on it. It sounds like that might not be exactly be the case. So this is still a work in progress then.
yeah, I'll definitely write it because it was it's amazing. The stuff I heard,
Hmm.
the things I've heard, it's amazing and almost going to be more unbelievable than this one.
Wow.
But yeah, yeah.
Well, that I was
So
going to say that's quite a challenge because there's a lot of amazing stuff in here that a lot of it almost seems like it's out of a movie. It's like, you can't believe that they were able to pull it off or that they were able to do this and not get caught type of thing. And just that it almost seems too fictional to be true.
right, then guys didn't get caught a lot though.
Hmm.
They were professionals at what they did.
Yeah, yeah, they certainly were. And I'm gonna add this that before we started, because Bill's live from the Philadelphia area, and I'm originally from South Jersey, and Cherry Hill is is mentioned in the story, and a few towns around there, Haddonfield as well. And so it's just really interesting for me to have that kind of perspective. Like I grew up in that neighborhood, so to know that there were people coming in and just breaking into the houses. Not that I never heard about that. It's just that it's just never interesting to hear about this, but also some of these events were a little before my time as well. So, but it was
Right.
like, oh my gosh, I have a connection to the actual events of this story. It's like, oh my gosh, that's great stuff. Bill, this has been great stuff, and it's again, it is a fascinating book. Every day is like Sunday, the silent relooting of art stolen by the Nazis. It's got a whole lot of everything, like we discussed. It's got history, it's got suspense, it's a heist story, a little romance, a comedy, and to a certain extent in some parts.
Yeah.
So it really does have a little bit of everything. And since we're in summer, it's a great beach read, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So Bill, where can people find out more about you? I mean, do you have social media, or do you have a website?
I wish I did, but no, I don't have any of that. And
Okay.
which makes this harder a little bit.
Well,
I
okay.
keep
So
saying I'm
people,
going to
but
make
where can people get the book? We'll start with that.
Amazon for now. I tried to get it in some bookstores too, but
Hmm.
uh, I haven't been too successful with that. But so
Okay.
really, Amazon's is where I guess all the books are getting. You know,
Okay. Well, I guess the big follow-up question is that if you were able to get into the bookstores, what section would you want it to be in? Because again, there's so many possibilities.
put it right next to the cashier. Put it right there, so everyone can grab it.
Okay. I like history myself, but that's me.
Yeah, me too.
I like a lot of the time periods that the story is takes place in.
Yeah,
So again, we've been talking to Bill Frisco about his book Every Day is Like Sunday: The Silent Relooting Art Stolen by the Nazis. Bill, thank you so much for being here. It's a great book, and it's been a fascinating conversation.
thank you, Paul. I appreciate it very much.
No, my pleasure. And viewers and listeners, if you enjoyed today's show, please hit like. Feel free to leave a comment and subscribe. For my social media, you can check out my screenwriting blog at maximumz.blog. Still on Twitter at maximum_Z. For Blue Sky and Instagram, it's at Pez Screenwriting. And this show, you can find it on Twitter at Podcast CWL and also on Blue Sky at Podcast CWL. I'm on Amazon too with my screenwriting books. Go ahead and ask. Feel free to give those a purchase. Like I said, that's Bill. I'm Paul. This has been the Creative Writing Life podcast. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and most importantly, go write something.